really do. It's not my style. And so I started it a couple months later, some posts got going, and now there's 550 people in the group. There are corporate people, there are doctors, one of the board of directors in neurology for the Mayo Clinics, our good friend Renolfo, he's got a really sick really good Neo Geo collection, and really good Super Famicom collection. Crazy. Big fan of SNK, that guy is, and he's got the money to support a Neo Geo addict. None of the rest of us do. And then there's every walk of life in retro gaming. And something that is just been as important to me as anything else. I've been in other groups, Hollows groups, which I collected, and other groups, but the social side of it's always been a big part of it to me, and something important for my family as well is bringing people in our home. I don't want to have a video game collection that only I see, and there's a lot of people that do that, and it's awesome. There's people that at our booth here today that own 7,000 video games, but maybe 5 people have ever seen their collection. And that's not how my house, of the 550 people in URG, I'm guessing somewhere about 200 of those people have been in my house. So we started doing game nights about midway through 2014, and we've had as many as 68 people inside my home. We've done the only video that exists, I should have put that up there, the only video that exists on YouTube of 8 TVs with 8 GameCubes actually linked with 16 people in the same spot playing Mario Kart Double Dash is in my front yard. When they all linked and it all like lit up, we're like, oh
yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So awesome. I didn't even play it.
I missed it.
I started off, I wanted to get every console I could. I wanted to have 10 good games for every console. And then I realized that every console is daunting, and I'm still chasing. I don't own a Super 8 can. There's a Super 8 can in our display. It gets into stuff like a Super 8 can. If you buy stuff from Japan, you have to go kind of back roads through proxies. When you're going through Taiwan, it's even more sketchy. You have to pay the proxy twice, and when it gets here, if it's broken, you're just kind of out of luck. It's bad. And I only know maybe 2 people that buy stuff out of Taiwan. But it gets to that point in collecting. Other than that, Utah Retro Gamers, we've done arcade nights. We've done Secret Santa the last 3 years, where everybody sends me their list, and then Secret Santa sends them a list, and everybody brings presents, and we all just meet, and these doctors and people that sell homes and painters and guys that sit on the couch at DI for a living and people, and we all are friends because of video games, and it's been such a powerful thing in my life. And just before this and before we did a big booth at Comic-Con last week, I said, hey, how did you find the group and what happened? And so many people said this group has changed their lives. There's people that, I mean, really weird to hear this, but people who collect video games aren't the most social people. Some of them didn't leave their house a whole lot, and now they have this large friend base from this group. So it's been a humbling experience for me. I'll let Jason share some of his experience, and then I'll share some of my tips for collecting, and we'll talk to Larry.
Humbling is definitely the right word to use. What I've always said, one of my catchphrases is that after having met these people, joined this group, discovering all these people that share the same hobby that I thought I was alone in for so many years, I always say that my collection of friends is far more valuable to me than my collection of games, and I mean it.
He has a huge Genesis collection.
I do. I got a pretty great collection. So, not the best collection by any means. I mean, there are people in our group that have double the games that both him and I combined have. But still, it definitely has been life changing. A guy that I didn't even know existed 3.5 years ago is my best friend now because of this. So. It's definitely,
Hug it out.
The game I was into less than $2 for $550, and it shut down Burger King.
And to be fair, I knew how much he was into it, and $550 was a steal at that time.
I just heard these rumors of this big red-headed guy that lived in Layton and had more Nintendo games than I did, and I was like, no. I had like 400 Nintendo games. Oh, he's like 600. I'm like, no.
Although he overtook me within a year. I mean,
we had 700 on the same day.
Yeah, on the same day.
And I finished a year before him.
Right. But no, in my story is a little bit different, obviously. I was really into these games from the time I was about 9 until when I got my first NES, until I was about 15. Now, this was back in '95, okay? Back then, you were even more of a nerd if you were into video games at that time, and people were merciless to me. And one day, I just told myself, you know what? I'm packing up all my consoles. I'm never going to an arcade again. You remember arcades? Yeah. Never going to an arcade again. And that's what I did. Cold turkey, I just stopped. It was 10 years. You know, I had, got a career, graduated from college, gotten married. I ended up getting divorced. And when you're in a house with 3 kids and a wife, you are always busy. But then when I didn't have that anymore, I realized, man, I got nothing to occupy my time with. And so I went on YouTube like a lot of people do when you're bored. And I remembered this old the Ninja Turtles game on the NES. And I wanted to see if there was anyone that had ever beaten it. So I went on YouTube, and all these things came up. All these gamers, whether they were angry nerds or speedrunners, any of that kind of stuff. And I was like, these guys in the background, they all have these huge collections of games. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna give that a shot. So I started going to thrift stores and stuff like that. I realized that now it wasn't quite as nerdy to be into this kind of stuff. So I was like, well, I've packed on some muscle. I think if anyone makes fun of me for this, I can probably take it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do what I wanna do. And so that's what I did. And I did that for several years. And then this same guy, Brian, who is going to be a legend, I think, after this.
He will take every ounce of credit.
Yeah, he absolutely will.
To give him.
I had been buying from him for almost a year. And I went to his house to buy a game, Bubble Bobble 2, which is kind of hard to come by. And so I went to grab that from him, and he added me to this group, Utah Retro Gamers. Now, people have added me to groups many times on Facebook. I'm in a wine lovers group and all kinds of stuff that I never asked to be in. This one was different though. And I remember this guy, one of his first posts, and I commented on it. I didn't think anything of it because sometimes I just comment to troll or I just, comment because I'm bored. Well, then I started getting private messages. What? A collector, a local collector that I don't know? What's up with this? We started talking, and that was only about 3 years ago. And not only is this guy one of my best friends, but some of the people like Matt back there, a good friend of mine, the import guru of Utah, and it's definitely been in addition to tripling my personal collection through networking, which I believe is probably the best way to do it. You can go to thrift stores all you want, but at some point you're going to get tired of Super Mario Duck Hunt cartridges. You're going to want a little bit more. But it's been a great thing. And I don't know if any of you guys have looked us up on Facebook, but check us out, Utah Retro Gamers. Click join group. We'll send you a little welcome message. And
remember this panel because Jason and I are actually really friendly, nice guys. It's on Facebook. If you post the word emulation, you might get a comment from me just saying.
Oh, look, guys, emulate all you want. Just don't post about it. That's all.
Post a screenshot. Don't tell me you're playing it on some kind of pie because it makes me hungry and angry.
And we have very little tolerance for people that are a part of the community for no other reason than to make money. Now, I don't care if people sell it, but if you're not here to be friendly, and to be a part of the group and contribute, then we kind of get annoyed at that. So
it's like Cragen makes $20,000 a year selling video games out of his house, but he's also one of the most legit Zelda collectors there is. Just ask him.
And if the IRS is monitoring this this stream, then that's his problem.
He doesn't sell video games.
The rest of his collection cheap or something.
There we go.
But yeah. That's my story. So, Terry, you've got a much more interesting one.
Before you get carried away, you were talking about getting stuff like in Japan and Hong Kong and that. This guy's legit.
I love it. What does that mean?
He'll find you anything obscure or tough you're trying to find it. It'll all work, man.
You don't know the level of anything
Nice.
obscure that I'm actually looking for.
I'm serious. Yeah, he's one of the guys that got me over into Hong Kong for 50 days along with my son with the
Oh man.
prototype. So
Love
and
it.
they're real good friends of ours. And if
Very
you guys,
cool.
otakugames.com. If you're looking for
Federal
something off the
Arcade.
wall, obscure, Japanese, Chinese, whatever,
They speak
they'll
English?
gladly ship. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Done.
Or he's 9.
Like
He's
it.
German. Right? His wife's Chinese.
Gotcha.
Okay. But yeah, I'm not a lucky schlub that actually. Any of you guys know the whole backstory on what I own here? Well, yeah, I already know most of it. I figured I'd get these two guys up here in front of you. Let's see, how can we start this? Back in, I guess, 88, 90 somewhere, Nintendo and Sony were collaborating together to create CD-based console, and this actually happens to be one supposedly 200 that was supposed to be created back then. And this one actually has, if you take it apart and look at it, and then even on the bottom, I'll show you. It has a number 2 on it, so we're thinking this is number 2 of 200, and even the parts in there are stamped. I guess when you got 200 and you're taking them apart like an assembly line to get something to work, you know, you want to make sure when you get something working, you put the exact same part out of the machine you had. So, but anyway, when they were collaborating together, I guess that Nintendo wasn't kind of happy with the way things were going in the contract. They found out they didn't read their contract that great. They found out that they gave up control of a lot of their characters, which equated into big dollars back then. You know what I mean? And not only that, if you look at the prototype itself, it just says PlayStation or Sony on the top, just like the controller. This is the one and only controller in the world. It says PlayStation on the front, Sony, and it says Nintendo on the back. Same with the cartridge. The boot cart says Nintendo on the back. So I guess they were pretty pissed at that. So come down to the day when they're all up on stage getting ready to announce this, I guess, who knows, I wasn't there, but I would like to have, you know, the DeLorean to go back and even get parts and spare stuff for this thing. To be there just to see what happened on stage, and right in front of literally thousands and thousands of people who were drooling to see this come out, you know, and Sony and Nintendo collaborate together. They turned around and told everybody up on stage, we decided to go with Philips to create with a CD-based console with them, and we all know how that turned out.
Blonde again a lot.
Yeah,
He owns it.
yeah. So at that point, the guy who was the president of Sony back then was Olaf Olsen, and I didn't know this. When my company I worked for at Banner National Bank went bankrupt, my vice president had me go to the 2 boardrooms. We had one in Delaware and one in Springhouse to pack up all the dishes, plates, cups, and saucers from the board meetings. Well, when I started opening all the drawers and the cabinets and stuff, I saw all this stuff. It's like, you know, when you got 8 board members, you buy enough for 10 because they have guests. They bought like 2 or 3 of everything, and a lot of it was still wrapped in plastic, brand new, never been used. I'm like, damn, silver line. I said, I'm buying this shit if I can. So I packed it up. I marked on the boxes. There were DocuSafe boxes. Some were in the big brown moving boxes. And if you wanted to be in on the auction, they are having an online auction. We went around the buildings, we itemized, we took pictures, so everybody could see what was up on the screen. And if you wanted to be in on the auction, I had to sit out in the auditorium like you would a paddle. So when I tried to buy a couple other things, and I got shot down real quick. So when this showed up, it just showed 3 DocuSafe boxes with the lids off, cups, plates, and saucers on the screen. The bidding started 25, I went 50, it said 65, said 75, and it stopped. I'm like, that's freaking fast. So I guess they didn't read the fine print, because I already knew how many boxes I packed up, and it was a hell of a lot more, trust me. And they probably thought, this guy's crazy, $75 for more than 3 boxes, you know what I mean? So when I went back and I won the auction, I paid the auctioneers, they're showing me this big ass lot. I'm like, dude, because I went around the buildings with these guys, I didn't pack half this shit. They said, no, this is your lot. I said, okay, you sure? Yeah. And it didn't have my handwriting on it, so I was like, okay, what'd you do? Oh, we make bigger lots instead of creating more, because they were under a time crunch to get this shit and close up buildings. So it took me 2 carloads to get this stuff home. Seriously. I got the stuff home, anything I had handwritten on, I set aside. Anything I didn't, I started opening. Well, one box opened up, it had actually, you're gonna love this one, it had wingtips in it from Olaf Olsen, along with some nice ties. You know, some of them were silk ties and stuff like that. When you got a $200 tie, you just don't throw them away. You let your girlfriend pick out the one she likes, get the plan to keep, you know. And that's what I did. Another box I opened up, I actually had 4 plaques. I used to carry the one plaque around with me. It has Olaf Olsen's name on it, showing the Millennium milestone, like some 50 million CDs he had done for Sony back then. And I didn't know he was the president of Sony. He was a board member at our company. And the other 3 were just showing milestones. Another one I opened up. Now remember, keep in mind all this stuff that I'm talking about now was owned by the president of Sony back then. Another box I opened up had probably like 30, 40 CDs, PlayStation, PS1 games, long box, 3DO, and they're still wrapped in cellophane, so brand new, never been used, owned by the president of Sony. How can you say, woohoo? You know what I mean? And I did. And when I opened up the next box, I found the one and only boot card, and the system itself. And I'm looking at this, it didn't dawn on me. I'm seeing PlayStation on the front, Nintendo on the back. Oh, that's cool. It just didn't go. That's something different. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is really cool. So I tried to find out any information I could about it online. Zip. All you ever saw was the concept art. I'm sure all you see about when this is supposed to be created with like more jacks in the front and everything else. Never saw pictures of this. So one day my son's on Reddit, he's an analog boy, and they're talking about it, and the gaming gods must have been shining on us that day because, for some reason, my son probably said, I'll go on Reddit today to see what they're talking about. And they were talking about the day when Nintendo and Sony were collaborating about creating this CD base. And my son said, oh yeah, I think my dad has one of those up in his attic. I'm sorry, but I'm going to drop the F-bomb here. They're like, oh, fuck yeah.
That's how we would have reacted.
I guess you got a copy of Half-Life 3 too.
I remember that day.
My son's like, no, he really does, and but nobody knew about me at that point. So I let him get beat up for about a month. So finally I had to interject and tell him, because when after that, he's like, no, I'll get pictures when I go home next time. So everybody was pounding the hell out of him to get pictures of this thing. So he had called me on the phone and said, Dad, send me some pictures of the prototype, or whatever the hell it was we were calling it back in. We had no idea what it was. So I had a flip phone back in, one of the Sprint ones. And I sent it to him. He goes, Dad, I can't post these. You think they beat me up bad? Because they're lucky I sent him pictures of Bigfoot. You know what I mean? So when he came home for the 4th of July weekend, actually July 3rd, he came home. On July 2nd, I guess he took the pictures. I told him when he got home, I said, yo, I still have that out of the attic. You want to take pictures of it? He says, yeah. He says, because I'm getting hounded by it. So that night on July 2nd, he posted the pictures. And July 3rd, he was out with his friends that night, drinking, of course, he's an adult now. And his phone died. So when he got home at his mother's house, he plugged his phone in, and he said no sooner he plugged his phone, it literally went ballistic. He just started hearing bells, whistles, buzzes going off on his phone. It was ringing. No sooner he plugged it in. He said, Dad, this guy had been calling me like every 10 seconds. It was Brian from Polygon. And he goes, he says to my son, yo, are you Dan Diebold, the guy who posted the pictures on Facebook about owning the PlayStation prototype? He goes, yeah, why? Who's this? He goes, oh, I'm Brian from Polygon. He goes, yeah. He goes, how the hell did you get my number? He goes, oh, I got it from LinkedIn. He goes, ah, shit, no, take that down. He goes, don't worry, I won't tell anybody anything like that. He says, can you do us a favor? And he says, sure, what's that? He says, can you do a short video on it? So we did a 1:42 video on this thing in my kitchen. He calls me on the phone, young guy, I gotta do a video. I said, now what? He was there asking for a video, I guess, to show we actually own it. I said, all right, come on over. So people were bitching about the new wave countertop oven I own, but they're not focused on this. They're bitching about the food I just went out and bought at my local shopping store. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, people, come on, get it together. So when he posted that, not only did the pictures that he posted on Facebook on July 3rd go viral in every language around the world, we had no idea. You know what I mean? After he posted the video, exact same thing. Boom, boom, boom. We were #1 story on Facebook for the whole day. We trained it all day. So we took over. We're probably the first people who ever did it on Facebook, man, which is awesome.
I remember it.
Yeah, and we're sitting that night. We decided to go out and hang out with his buddies at their local bar and have some beers and shit. And back then, I didn't have a real good phone. Still, I had an iPhone. No, I didn't. I still had a flip phone. And at that point, we're sitting there. They got their faces in their better phones. I mean, what you're reading Facebook, and it's going like 20, 30,000 hits every 15, 20 minutes, half hour. And we're all just sitting there going, woohoo, look at this go, baby. We're just having fun with it. And the next thing I know, my son calls me the next day. He's like, Dad. I said, what? He goes, you know that YouTube video I posted? He goes, yeah. We got over 400,000 hits on this thing. I said, are you shitting me? He goes, no. I said, oh. So of course he went on there, you know, I guess you guys understand more of this than I do, where you sign up so you get X amount of dollars for it. But right now the video is probably at 1,300,000 hits, even to this day. When we got it, when I first got this, and you know, I tried to find stuff out about it online, and you guys, thanks to all you guys on Reddit and everything else and all these forums that posted, literally for like 2 or 3 weeks, 10, 12 hours a day, I was literally sitting going through every forum that I could. If you guys are putting something on in one of the forums and a link, I would open it up to see if there's pictures, anything about this whatsoever. If it was legit, I would open it up, print it, and whatever. I mean, so I got a stack of paper like this at home with stuff like this. And then one day I'm just sitting there, you know, I'm trying to go through, you know, like the patent office here in the States. I'm like, why can't I find this here? And then I had an epiphany. Old man, sorry. But, you know, I'm like, Japanese. So I went through their patent office because I'm sitting there and I had this grainy picture, it looked like Bigfoot. And then I actually showed this, and it was really grainy, that grainy. It was about 1 inch by 1 inch square. And I'm like, damn, if that don't look like this. And it showed two it's called J-Plat for their patent office, and it had J-P, and then it showed like 8, 10 numbers, 2 different numbers. So I translated it to English, and I started punching the numbers in their drop-down boxes, and then finally, when I figured out how to do it, it opened up like 38 pages of this thing. You know, on the first number, I was like, this is definitely it, because it showed the unit itself. It showed mechanical drawings, nothing electrical. I'm like, damn it, yeah, I want the electronics part of it. Both times. I mean, so as soon as I saw that, I printed them both up. You try getting those now, they pulled that stuff. You know what I mean? So at that point, we ended up going to Midwest Gaming Classic for the first time. Well, actually, we ended up getting contacted by Dixon Wu. Retro.hk it was called, over in Hong Kong. You'll get to know this guy real well. He's going to be taking over retro gaming in Hong Kong, trust me, within the next 5 years. He reached out to my son when he first posted this, and he said, look, as much as I would like to, I'd like to buy this off of you, but don't sell it to me. And I'm like, okay, this is a hell of a sales pitch. And as we got to know Dixon, we come to find out he owns like 4 companies over there. He's got like 2 magazines and everything else. So, you know, he was talking about bringing it over there to share it with everybody. I'm like, well, I'm out of work, you know, I'm broke. I can't do it. And he's like, no, don't worry, I'll find sponsors to do this. I said, okay. So about 6 weeks later, after we chatted for about 6 weeks on how everything's gonna pan out and what we wanted to do if we could pull this off while we were over there, he found like 9 sponsors to sponsor us. We were over there for 50 days. They pay for our round trip flights, they pay for our hotels, they pay for our foods, they pay for our taxis. We got to be, Dixon brought us in with like 5 of his friends, tight-knit group of friends over there. To the point to where we became such good friends, we were like family, like these guys talk about it, you know, in the gaming thing. Where they were like, we were going out to dinner at night with them. We hardly spent any money. They would buy for us. We hang out in the bars with them. They were taking us to weddings. We were hanging at the barbecues at their houses, in their apartments with them. It didn't matter. If we weren't with Dixon, the guy brought us over there that night, James, Richard, or one of them, he calls, yo, what's up? Oh, well, Dixon's out. He's got to take care of business for a change with Tiff. He goes, no, man, come on, let's go out tonight. Dude, we ain't got cash now. Let's go. And we ended up going with him. 50 days, man, I'm telling you, it was great over there. So, I don't know if any of you ever heard of Richard Lai. He's the Cheener Chief editor for Engadget HK over in Hong Kong. He did actually an interview with Shuhei Yoshida on this. It's like a 3-minute some odd video. You can see that one online, where he's actually got his phone in his hand, and Shuhei's sitting next to him, and he's looking at his phone, and Shuhei at the corner of his eye at the same time. He goes, you know, of course, we were going to ask you about a bonus question today, and he shows him it on the phone, and this is what Shuhei's going. And they started talking about it for about 3 minutes, you know, and Shuhei says, yeah, I was there, you know, I played some games on it, but he's going, my memory not so good anymore. I'm like, bullshit, you're sharp as a tack. And he is, Shuhei Yoshida, man, this one guy I definitely want to meet. So after that, we went over for 50 days. Dixon promised to take care of us for 50 days. He did. When we got back home, when we were hugging goodbye at the airport, he says, I got you started here in Hong Kong. Show me what you can do when you get back to the States. So when I got back to the States, for a couple of weeks, I just started Googling everything, expos, cons, anything. Sending out a cover letter, same thing to everybody. Said the same thing, what my terms were. Are you interested? Reach out to me. First one who reached out to me was Midwest Gaming Classic. We went there. Got there, that's where we met this man, Ben Heck. He actually, if any of you know him, he's an engineer modder. He actually grabbed my son. I didn't know about this. He goes, "Oh, I just met Ben Heck." I'm like, "I didn't know. I'm not one of those guys from that era." He goes, "Yeah, he's an engineer modder. He wants to know when he can get his hands on it." I was like, "Well, to look at it." I said, "Dude, I'm committed to Midwest Gaming, Dan and Gary." I said, "It's not going to happen while we're here." So I get home, about 10 days later, I get an email from Pat Stanley, who's actually the producer for Element 14, the Ben Heck show. She says, "Terry, would you be interested? We're going to tell your story, but everybody knows it. But would you be interested in if you would Ben could look at it, take it apart, and get it working for you?" I'm like, "Fucking A!" Especially after I vetted him. I wanted to make sure who he was. I was like, "Well, how's this going to work?" She says, "Well, we'll fly you in, hotel, blah, blah, same terms as I give everybody when I go to the expo." I'm like, "Okay." So we were there a day and a half. And the day and a half we were there, on the first video, him and my son are taking it apart. Ben does some of the technical stuff. And the second one, he starts to do the repair. He's done like 9 videos on this thing, man. And you gotta laugh because if any of you know Ben Heck whatsoever, as funny and quirky as is on video, he's the same way off video. He'll be sitting there with his nose to the grindstone. I call him Inspector Gadget. He'll have this literally magnifying glass working, smelling the parts to make sure if they're smoky or anything. And he'll just take a break, start doing dancing, songs, singing, and then sit back down, break back to work. They'll be yelling. There's 4 Felix, Karen, and Max. They're a hell of a team. They do a new video every week. Every Friday they put out a new video and they do giveaways. So if you sign up for them, they're funny as hell, man. They do something all the time. So we were there that day and a half. We were just laughing our ass off for the whole day and a half. And it seemed like every couple hours, the first day we were there, we were 12, 14 hours in this shop. And it's a cool shop. The stuff he's modded and created and stuff. We've seen all of it. The Hackmanji machine that he created, if you guys know about that, that was pretty cool. We saw that prototype. But every couple hours, you look up and you go, "Yo, Terry, how far are you going to take us?" I'm like, "Ben, when you're tired, just put it back together and we'll leave." So the first day, he just replaced 3 capacitors and all the bodge wiring. As soon as he replaced the bad capacitors, the CD portion would open and close and spin, but it still wouldn't read discs. We're like, okay. So I'm like, "Ben, do you have a small speaker? Maybe we got sound on." He goes, "No, I don't." So knowing Ben, he just cut wires, put a small speaker together, plug it in the back, put a game in. 2 Hail Marys, we had sound now. We didn't have, first of all, we didn't even have the power supply. Ben created a power supply for us from a PS1, spliced that together. And then he says, "Look, a prototype for a prototype." I said, "Sign the damn thing." Without Ben and I, he took out a magic marker, signed it. And then the next day, he started doing some more stuff. And then at that point, he told me that we could probably get the CD portion to work, if you have somebody look at it for you, some other engineer or whatever. And I said, "Yeah, but it wouldn't be you, Ben." So we set it up. The day that I had left Louisville Arcade Expo this year, actually, I met Pat Stanley at the Chicago O'Hare Airport and handed it off to her because this thing will never be shipped. If it goes anywhere, it goes with me. It gets handed off, somebody gets handed off to the person who's accepting responsibility for it. So I gave it to him for 3 weeks and he replaced every freaking capacitor in this thing. And now we have sound. Hit the bottom right button. No, bottom right button. That one. Okay. Let's see for the play.
Does it sound on these guys?
Yeah, maybe it won't play because it's wrong. Maybe I gotta put a gate in. Maybe try something different. different disc.
Oh.
That was one created by a guy named Mason. I know he'll play this one. As you can see, we got the sound. It plays. So that's sweet. I mean, who back in the day did turn the damn sound down on their games and turn up the music so they can not hear that? Nothing like sitting in bed going, like trying to sleep.
That sounds so much better than a CDI CD player.
Oh, yeah.
The CDI CD player is terrible.
This is the DOS card for it. We've actually, a guy, him and a buddy, his Mateus over in Germany, Super Boss Guide. You can actually download this online, play it for free. It's a homebrew game. It's pretty cool. It's actually it's a finger pointing at me and my son. We'll plug it in and let you guys see it. We tried to burn it on a disc, but we're not sure if it's just way too much memory, for what's in here. But let's see. There you go. There's this part of it. When we first turned this on at Dixon's Keypad magazine, we were in this conference room, and our eyes just like bugged out of our head. Because Dixon, if any of you guys know, you don't know Dixon, but he was pacing the room. Oh my God, he's like a little girl. Oh my God, do you believe what you got here? I'm like, yeah, we were high-fiving as it was to see the damn thing turn on and just show up on screen. He goes, you got the boot cart with this thing. And I was like, that's cool. To me, I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. I'm not one of these tech guys. But, we were just freaking out when we saw this. There's a lot of things you can go through. You can do a self-check. And if you could, some of you guys can see it, some of you can't. On the right side of the screen, it says OK. It takes a little while to go through. Hopefully it'll go all the way down.
It's like the test cards.
Yeah. And then the bottom two used to say NG. That's before Ben fixed it. Because it would come up in red, NG. It should just say, all four of them should say OK now.
Yes.
So yeah, and if you go back in this, you can go into some of the other parts of this. As you can see, you can change the numbers and the parameters on this, and we have no freaking idea what'll happen if we do it. I don't want to know, because if I start changing numbers and then all of a sudden my card don't work no more, I'm going to be pissed because I can't find anybody to burn another one for me. Because if you open the inside of this up, it's got special chips. As you can see, it's going crazy now. 30 years old. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that. Matt can do it.
See, and you can go down and do all kind of things, change numbers. It's really wired.
How many boot cards are up there?
This is it.
Just that one.
Just this one that we know of. And I already know, I found out 2 months ago from a reliable source that Shuhei Yoshida or Ken Kutaragi do not have any of this. Or a controller. I'm the only one on the planet that owns it. This one here, don't even know. Anybody? Any of you guys?
Well, we got interrupt requests. That's about all I know.
I mean, this is online, so if you guys want to, look up any of this online and you guys figure any of this crap out, please do and send it to me. Yeah, we actually know that Secret Amana was created for this on CD, but when they converted it from CD to card, they lost 60% of the game. So some developer out there sitting on Secret Amana, and I'm asking you, please, one more time, send it to me. we do have, if any of you know PSP, Patrick Scott Patterson, he's an avid collector and stuff. He does a lot of great work. What he'll do is he'll go out and do video finds, and he actually works with the Air Force and everything else. He gets stuff for the guys who are in the service, boxes it all up and sends it to these guys all over the world free of charge out of his pocket. He does it all the time, man. You gotta see the stuff he gets constantly, man. But yeah, he's even out there trying to reach out for us to try to see, get Secret Amana. I don't care if you guys know anybody. I do know a couple people from Sony that are still signed the NDAs. They can't talk to me per se. On stuff. So they're real vague when I do chat with them. But if you do know anybody that did, I've met people who said they've worked on this third party, you know, oh yeah, well, I remember working on this, we got parts and stuff around. Hey, dude, here's my home address, here's my phone, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm gonna send it to you. I'm hoping one day I just find a box sitting on my front step. And that's been happening to me. I've probably met about 7 or 8 people who said that to me, and I've never even got a scrap of paper. But, you know, it is what it is, you know what I mean? You know, they can say they have it, but, you know, I'm not gonna complain to people. If you want to send me something, you got it, fine. And if you want to be known for sending it to me, fine. If not, I can, because when we were over in Hong Kong, our buddy Dixon was one of his movie star friends. Being that you own 4 companies, you get a lot of friends, you know what I mean? Especially some people with some big money. And when the guy found out that Dixon was responsible for bringing us over to Retro.hk, which was the first retro gaming expo ever in Hong Kong, he's like, oh, dude, tell your 2 American friends I'll offer. This is 2015, before Mr. Ben Heck fixed it. We didn't have sound. The CD portion didn't work. You know, we just could play games on it. 200,000 American dollars. That was back then. Now, since Ben fixed it, you know, and we tried to even get Christie's over there in Hong Kong at the auction house to price it for us. They said it's priceless. We have nothing to compare it to. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's whatever anybody wants to pay. It'll never be for sale while I'm alive. I'm freaking broke, trust me, but you know, I'll never sell it. I'm one of those guys who buys something and give me something, it stays in my collection. I'm not one of those guys who get around the GameStop. Yo, look what I got for 50 cents. You know, I'll buy other stuff for 50 cents. But I'm getting 50 cents off. But yeah, so far this thing's gotten me and my son to Hong Kong for 50 days. Last year he traveled a lot with me throughout the United States. We made it to California, and I'll go anywhere, literally, with this thing. Last year we made it to California together twice for a day. Myself, this year I went to Vancouver, Ontario for a day. The great one, another one of the great ones I love too, I made it to Monte Carlo, France for a day. Co-producer of Shenmue 3, Cedric Biscay, he reached out to me one day. I'm sitting there and I get this email in French. I'm like, what the hell is this all about? Well, he's talking in English, but he sends me a link to something in France. And I'm like, okay. So I open it up and it just shows Shibayu Productions. I'm like, okay. So I Google it, see how legit this is. Shows a picture of Cedric Biscay. I'm like, okay, who the hell is this guy? So I check it through Google again. Okay, there's his face again. This has got to be legit. So, and all he said in the emails was sincerely. That's how he signed it. I'm like, okay. So the third email back to him, I said, who the hell are you? You know, because I had a feeling it was Cedric Biscay, but you know, he says, oh, I'm Cedric Biscay. I run Shibayu Productions. You know, I'd like to bring you over to Magic Monaco for a day. I'm like, for a day, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I said, well, here's my terms. The next email back to me, okay. I was like, wow. That was easy. I felt like I had that big red button in front of me. That was easy. When I got over there, you know, after the introductions, all the people we brought over there from all over the world for Magic Monaco, I lagged behind. I said, Cedric, what the hell did you bring me all the way over here, you know, from the United States just for a day? He looked at me and shut me right up. Why not? Okay. And I'm going back again next year, February 24th. I almost made it to the Brazil game show this year, but the guy, Mikael de Souza, he was a month too late on asking Video Game Database for cash flow to do it. And then the Brazil game show, they had blown their budget already. And from what I understand, they're having 500,000 people there. So I'm on the list for next year. And I literally will go anywhere and show and share with any of you guys, let you play it, touch it, take pictures with it, you know. And actually this time, this is the first time I'm ever doing anything like this. I'm actually creating a photograph album of anybody holding it. If you want to be in the album, I'm not sure how many people are going to jump on it, but you know, I'm looking at starting to create the albums for sale online, you know what I mean? Which is cool stuff to have. I would like to just do it for posterity and myself alone, you know what I mean? Just to show people like, yeah, here's a part of history right here. And these guys will tell you, they're even still scared even to hold it.
I played it like a year and a half ago. I'm still afraid to touch it.
I had, last year at SoCal, we had this one kid. The guy ran SoCal out there, he brought his friend in, who, you know, he couldn't wait for it to show up. For all week he said he was pacing, his girlfriend said. So when, at the end of the day, I unplugged it, and before I get ready to put it away, I called him over and said, Justin, come here. He goes, what? I hand him the thing. First of all, he's standing like vibrating in front of me. You know what I mean, you can see him shaking. And his girlfriend's laughing. She goes, he's been waiting to see this all week. I said, okay. So I go to hand it to him, and he started stuttering. You gonna let me hold it? I said, yeah. As soon as I handed it to him, literally, he stopped shaking, he turned white and stopped breathing. I put my hand on his shoulder, I said, Justin, breathe. His girlfriend started laughing. She says, he ain't gonna sleep for a week. And I just looked at her and said, that's your problem. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how some people really freak out about this. Some people just think it's really cool. And I appreciate through the people who run the expos. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. And you guys that think it should be in a museum, nah, it ain't never gonna happen in my life. You know, I mean, I'd rather take it out, show it, share it with you guys, play it, have fun with it. That's what it was created for, you know what I mean? But like I said, the only one guy I ever wanted to be would be Shuhei Yoshida. I mean, we chat online and stuff like that, but he's one of the cool guys in the museum. Other than that, I don't know what else to tell you guys. If you got any questions, go ahead and ask. But if you got technical, go online, YouTube channel. You know what I mean? 246, 247, 265, and 288 are basically the four where Ben really talks about this thing. Like the other 5 videos, he did a 5-hour live feed and a 3-hour live feed when he was actually got the whole thing up and running, of course. So, you have to spend some hours. But other than that, guys, any questions for me? Well, my son tells me I get really long-winded, but I'm pretty sure I hit my whole story right there. I mean, if you can Google it, I mean, we've been in like 40 different podcasts, stuff like that. Hair of the Dogcast we were just at when we were Midwest Gaming Classic. Those guys are fun. 10 in the morning, we're drinking beers with them. Yeah, when you call it Hair of the Dogcast, they drink beer and talk about games. They talk about games and drink beer. It's like a 36-minute video. We're sitting there having beers with them, and we had a blast with those guys. And they will, if you watch their videos, oh yeah, they're pretty tipsy by the end of the summer. And their videos, they'll last from 15 minutes to an hour and a half. They'll be sitting there talking about the beer they just bought. They'll have like a half dozen beers in front of them, explaining the beers because Josh Mueller, he went for brewing and stuff like that. And then they do know their gaming stuff too. I mean, and they're a lot of fun. But other than that, thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you. Looks like we don't have a whole lot of time left. If anybody wants to talk about games with us, we got this set up. We'll be here all day tomorrow as well. Check out Utah Retro Gamers. If I can just express the stuff that Terry's talking about, these conventions and stuff like that, this is a little bit different where it's a tournament. But if you get a chance, we know the guys that are on Portland Retro Gaming Expo, SoCal Retro Gaming Expo, Game On Expo. We've been working for about a year and a half, and it looks like Utah Retro Gaming Expo is going to be a thing. So check out Facebook. There's a Facebook page. Give it a like. You'll see all the updates there. But I cannot express enough how small the gaming community when it comes to old games is. When we go to these conventions, I mean, we've all seen James Rolfe, we've all hung out with Metal Jesus, and John, Gamester 81 slept in my basement for like 3 nights, like 2 months ago. And it's such, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's Billy and Jay, the Game Chasers. And we're like, yeah, I did shots with them in Phoenix in 2015. And Pat the Despot, we hang out with Pat and Ian, and I always make fun of him going like this. It's a good time. I cannot express enough to get out to some of these expos and stuff. You meet people like Terry. I met Terry in 2015 and was impressed at that time, and even more so now that he's got to come hang out. I'm so glad to see this here in Utah. Any other questions for us? You're welcome to come check out the booth. Make sure you stop by. Check out the tall cases that are just the displays. There's stuff in there. There's the first cartridge-based console. There's some rare stuff in there. I'll bring the box and stuff. It makes it more rare. But it's not this rare though. This is like, I'm just dying, just breathing this in. But anything else, you're welcome to hit me up. Like I said, my name's Gabriel. This is Jason and all the rest of our crew. Welcome to socialize. Utah Retro Gamers will change your life as much as you allow it to. I can't express that enough. Some people sit in the back and only come to game night. Some people only show up to arcade night. Some people are let their friends become. Some people won't leave, and that's fine. My wife's cool with it. People are at my house 2 or 3 nights a week playing video games. All my stuff is touchable. All my systems are hooked up. I have 28 consoles hooked to one Sony Trinitron TV in my game room, and a lot of stuff that didn't make it out. My new one, and my Honka, and my PSX, and all that other good stuff didn't make it out. So, Play Choice 10 and all sorts of garbage. Terrible. But always welcome to come play games at my house or join the group. Check it out. Thanks for everybody coming.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much to Terry for sharing his time with us. That was so amazing. When you see people walking by, it just kills me because these people are just walking by with their
Yeah, I can't
controller.
believe I'm
like,
shocked.
I'm like,
They walk by not knowing what that is.
Yeah,
That's
you
like-
get people standing there
like-
playing it. They're like,
Yeah.
you know what you're playing? Oh, yeah, we're playing Street Fighter 2.
like the Lamborghini Fastarossa
Yeah.
times 10.
Except you can touch it. Yeah.
If any of you want to come up and take pictures of it, hold it now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Sure, get the picture hold.